without, like, with no rest record yet. We'll see. Tier 3 and Tier 4. Okay, we'll move that over. It's actually nice to have multiple bases to work on. I think I just do Vindari. There's no point in leveling Huck up, like, at all.
But also, I'm not going back, okay? I hit Blight like I hit Heist. Good for a couple days for a video, and then I'm out.
Welcome Exiles to another update on my Righteous Fire Mageblood Elementalist. Now, we made a lot of gear progress since the last video. We upgraded our helmet, we got a second scepter, we upgraded our amulet a ton. Those were the main big changes we got. Oh, and we changed out our gloves because Asenath's really didn't feel good enough explosion-wise. And I said to myself, you know what, we'll get some pretty big AoE, we'll get extra girth, it'll be fine. You know, it has been fine, it's been really good, I've been enjoying it. And that being said, I thought a little bit about what explosions were like in Harvest League, and I thought, I want that back. That's pretty good. So, although this is very good at its current state, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep min-maxing. I'm going to be testing out in an impulsa transition instead of Brass Dome, rework the tree a little bit, see if we can still get some really good tank while also getting really good explosions, because I want those. That's a part of what makes Righteous Fire feel good. If you can get the explosions in there, it's like the Mona Lisa. It's perfection. It's magnificent, and we're going to try to do that. Talking about gear upgrades we've done, we got another scepter. This scepter is not close to being finished at all. I need to keep redoing Ashling slams to try to get fire damage on the prefix, at which point I can do like prefixes can't be changed, plus reforge fire more common to get fire dot multi, plus maybe burning damage, and then craft the suffix. Stuff like that we still got to do. There's min-maxing to be had. A lot of damage interceptor still is out there. For our helmet, this is what I hit on the Awakener Orb when I awakened the elevated fire nearby enemies minus fire res with mana reservation. I hit T1 res, which is good. Ideally, I want to get life regeneration on the suffix, but I was like, man, those are pretty good suffixes. To min-max past those suffixes, I'd have to get pretty lucky, so for right now I'm leaving it. And then I hit really good armor. Good enough armor to get 1,300 for my helmet alone. Now this, I'm not sure I want to keep. Eventually I'd like to transition this helmet to Fizz Tankiness Fire, plus 2 AoE gems, and then Crafted Life most likely. And I think the plus 2 to AoE gems, with the levels we'd put on Determination, might make up for the armor we lose on the helmet. I'll have to run some numbers on that. It might not quite make up for it, but getting Fizz Tankiness Fire, any elements of reduction on that initial heavy hit you take from Fizz makes your armor way more effective. So right now, Fizz we don't really feel in terms of like most enemies. We have 78,000. We're going to lose Brass Dome, so that's going to come down a bit. So I'd like to get Fizz taken as, some additional Fizz reduction in the build, maybe generate Endurance charges more common with our Enduring Cry, maybe look at Enduring Composure, stuff like that, because an important part of reducing Fizz damage is reducing that initial hit before your armor has to calculate it, because your armor's effectiveness is based on like how big that hit is to you. So if you start splitting that hit up with Fizz taken as, some extra Fizz reduction here, the armor becomes a lot more effective. So I'm going to be looking into stuff like that. For our amulet, I believe I have details on how to craft an amulet like this in the Inquisitor guide, but it's pretty much Awakener Orb till you get an open prefix. If you don't hit an open prefix, I would sell. You could take the 1 in 3 annul chance, but there's a good chance that ends up with you having not an amulet. That's kind of up to you if you want to resell it back. Normally, whenever I hit, I think I did 4 Awakener Orbs before I got an open prefix, and I sold all of them back for basically the cost of the Awaken Orb, so it's like free to keep trying for if you sell them back. If the market gets too bloated with amulets getting sold back, you're going to have to start taking that risk of the 1 in 3 annulment orb. But once you get a life or an open prefix, you can do prefixes can't be changed, plus reforge life more common. This is like close to a 50% chance you're going to get above T4 life doing this. I got T2, and I'm like, that's good. I am going with it. T2 is fantastic. anything above T4 I think is really good. Before, if I had something like T5 or lower, I would have kept retrying. And anyways, once we did that, we had life, then we go for prefixes can't be changed, reforge fire, and you just do that until you hit good fire dot multi. If you're really ambitious, you do it until you hit fire dot multi in damage over time multiplier, but that's just very unlikely. It's not going to happen, let's be honest. Eventually I'll Ashling this amulet, I'll take the risk, but I'm going to save that for later when I'm doing more min-maxing. Our rings are still just kind of rings we bought, and I haven't changed these out. I'm working on crafting a flammability on hit dot multi essence ring, and I just haven't gotten lucky with my annuls / my reforged casters. I made a nice vulnerability ring though, so I guess I'll maybe be able to sell that back for some money, but I would have liked to have hit flammability. So we're going to be working on crafting the rings. They're still not min-maxed. Boots here. These boots, the suffixes are basically ideal. The only way these boots get better is if they were the two-tone boots. That gives us a little bit of extra res, but I couldn't find any suffixes like this, and I don't particularly want to go out and try to min-max craft the suffixes first until like I'm ultra min-maxing, which I'm not even sure I'm going to get to. There's definitely other items I want to do first. But the suffixes are fantastic, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing Reforge Fire till we hit +2 max fire res. Then we're going to Ashling 50-50 to try to hit movement speed and onslaught on kill, and then craft flat life or movement speed, and movement speed if you haven't been hit recently, probably. Ideally, we do not want the cannot be chilled movement speed because that's the worst one for us. We already get chill immunity from Wrapped in Flame. So that's the boot craft. And the glove craft is a matter of, my approach to this was do essences until you hit T1 life regeneration rate on a shaper pair of gloves. And then you do a change res craft to make whatever res of essence you were using, change it to fire res. And you need to have an open suffix, and then you can do suffixes can't be changed, reforge fire, more common, and that's very likely you're going to get fire dot multi on the suffix pool unless it chooses a fire mod on the prefix. I think it's a 50-50 basically, but if you do fire more common, then it's a little bit heavier odds, and then it's a 50-50 again at hitting T1 fire dot multi. So that's how you get suffixes like this, and then you do basically prefix crafting. That being said, I'm probably not going to keep these gloves because I'm going to be testing out inpulsas for the explosions, because I think, you know, this build would just be a bit more well-rounded, a bit more feels good at mapping if we got explosions in the build. And so I'm going to be testing out that versus Brass Dome. And as for Brass Dome, I have been on the search for a +4 Brass Dome. You'll see I have a tab labeled Brass here. And guess what? It's filled with a bunch of my bricked brass domes. I have about 40 bricked brass domes here. So you do the math. If it's a 1 in 4 to hit a brick, I've done 160 double corrupts on brass domes. And that's not accounting for the shadow stitches I did earlier this league. I have not hit a +4 for Righteous Fire, which would be +1 socketed, +2 duration, or +2 AoE. Any two of those 3 mods would be what I'm looking for, and I'm probably going to start doing some with impulses here. Just, you know, if I like impulses enough, and I'm going to check out the transition today, then I might start corrupting impulses instead of Brass Doom, just to kind of compare the two. The idea here is, although Explode Chest is great and it frees up our glove slot, I cannot reliably craft 200 Explode Chests that are good enough to compete with an Impulsa or a Brass Dome and then double corrupt them, because what a rare chest has to compete with is a double corrupt of +4 gem levels, and that's just not happening. You can forget about that. That's a lot of damage. I don't want to give that up, so we're going to keep trying to double corrupt these things, and we're going to hunt that +4 down. On average, I think it should be like 1 in 200 double corrupts, because I think it's about a 1 in 54, I think, on hitting a double corrupt of the two of the 3 mods we want. So we're working our way towards that, and we're going to keep trying. We're min-maxing this thing. You don't pick up a Mageblood and not min-max. We have to go hard in the paint, and we're doing so. Anyway, so that's some of the gear changes. Passive tree changes / changes I've made is, one thing I did is I got in Grace into the build. I thought, you know what, this build feels pretty good tanky-wise, but we can get some good evasion in here and it'll feel even cleaner. And so right now we're sitting at about 23k evasion, 74% chance to evade. If we go ahead and get a percent evasion roll on our flask, which I think I'm going to be able to do when I switch over to the Impulsa version, I switch some things around, we'll get closer to about 40k evasion, which will be quite comfortable. Anyways, that's some of the things we got going on for Grace Evasion. Other things we had Determination, Malevolence. This all required an Enlightened 4. Had to do some heavy investment here to get that stuff all fit in aura-wise. And then we are still running Anomalous, Defiance Manner, and Purity of Fire, of course. As for other things, Flammability, this is going to be eventually taken out because I'm going to be getting a Flammability on Hit Ring. And then I think one other thing I don't have right now is I have Combustion Support linked to my Storm brand, but I don't deal any fire damage. Eventually, in the Impulsa version, we're going to be having the Ignite node back, so this will work fine. And if we decide to end up still sticking with the Brass Dome, we don't like the Impulsa version, it'll just be a matter of getting flat, like one flat Firecraft on a ring to take advantage of Combustion there. But anyways, that's the current setup of stuff we got going. I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to be min-maxing it. And I'm not going to rest until we have something that is near perfection. When I said I think this is going to be the best Righteous Fire build I've ever made, I meant it, and I plan to see that through. I want to beat my previous max, and my previous max would be Harvest level Righteous Fire. I think we can beat that, and that was with Explode mod, and that's how strong I believe Mageblood is. I believe it can take us past our past Righteous Fire builds that had Harvest and had the Explode mod. And that's a tough cookie to crack, and that's what we're here to do. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. The next one will be an update on, hey, is the Impulsa version good? How does it look? How does it feel clear-wise? Stuff like that. Anyways, take care, guys. Peace out.